Welcome everyone to my podcast. This is Shelly Armato. I call myself the queen of document information. I don't even know, I call myself all kinds of things. But anyway, today we are honored to have Brenda Radmacher. Did I say your last name right?
It can be said many ways, but it is technically Radmacher.
Okay. Okay, Radmacher. Okay. As I was preparing, I was like, I know I'm totally going to say this wrong, so forgive me up front on that one. But anyway, I was researching. Okay, I'm so intrigued by you, first of all. But so I was researching one of the things that I read about the Los Angeles Business Journal. Okay, this is impressive. Women of influence attorneys. To make it to this publication has to be, you should be so proud. But anyway, it says 25 years of experience working with construction contractors, construction managers, design professionals, developers, and owners. Brenda's multifaceted practice emphasizes resolving complex construction disputes through negotiation, mediation, and when necessary, arbitration and litigation. Okay, let's stop there. Okay. So I don't know if you've researched about my company, but we do all the knowledge management for construction projects. And when we started, we had no idea of what we were really like impacting, because we thought everyone always wanted to do the right thing. And so, yeah, you and I could sit up and have a glass of, I don't know, I'm trying to be wine free, but I think I would have a glass of wine on these stories. Anyway, and then it just goes on to say that you're nationwide and internationally work with real estate developers, construction companies. Are you working in Florida at all with all the issues that are going down there?
I sure am. We've just wrapped up the largest settlement, I think, of a construction case in the United States, the Champlain Towers condo collapse. And I was the lead construction attorney for the Homeowners Association Receiver, who was a partner of mine. And it was probably the fastest resolution of a extremely complex matter in less than a year, which is somewhat unheard of.
Especially in Florida. I mean, nothing against Florida, but it is Florida.
It is. And my firm, Anchorman LLP, has a longstanding presence in Florida. We've been in existence for over 100 years, started in Florida. So the firm has deep roots, and our real estate practice is extremely active. And as one of the lead construction attorneys at the firm, I get pulled into all sorts of the interesting matters across the country, but in Florida as well. So yes,
yeah,
the long answer is yes.
I want to meet she the mayor? I can't remember, that was on TV speaking so eloquently when all this was going on. I can't remember her name now, but was it the mayor? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I believe it was the deputy mayor for the town of Surfside, might be who you're thinking of.
Yes. And, I mean, talk about composure and articulation and beauty. She was so wonderful.
Yeah, people working under pressure, under fire in a very difficult situation.
Yeah. So we're on a mission in Florida, of course, to impact the industry with knowledge management, information. And as that building fell, my husband and I were sitting there crying. I'm like, Dominic, if it would have been on MySmartPlans in 2 seconds, they would have known where the gas valve was and where the water shutoff was. And they would have known the last contractor that worked on the project, because we assumed that probably the biggest thing that was happening in Florida was the shredder. Like shredding, like, oh no, we didn't do that. You know what I mean? Okay, that could be terrible.
Yeah, no, and I mean, the part that was severely tragic about that project is a lot of documents were actually maintained on site in computers and not backed up. And so some of that, and part of it becomes an interesting issue with all types of entities, companies, homeowner associations, boards. And I do a lot of work with my clients trying to say is, act in a preventive manner. And it's very difficult for people to figure out, how do we justify spending cost to get our documents managed, and how do we organize ourselves? I have it with big and small contractors and developers where we say, you're really going to save yourself a ton of time, money, and effort later if you spend a little bit up front and get yourself organized. And it's an uphill battle. And with that, and I've done a lot of work with a lot of clients and have been looking at these issues from both a liability and exposure side, as well as just best practices, because the construction industry has, in the last 5 years, gone full steam ahead into technology and embracing technology after, decades and hundreds and thousands of years of just saying, no, we need paper. And so now we used to have this problem where we ask clients for their documents and they'd find a box and they give you a box. And then later they'd find 4 other boxes and they were mislabeled or stuff put in the wrong box, right? I have that still a little bit, but I also now have people saying, well, I don't, we have too much now. We have so much data and it's not organized, it's not structured, and people in the process on construction projects, or if there's litigation afterward trying to piece back together, we're spending millions of dollars to try to organize data and get the relevant information to resolve disputes. So it's very interesting, and so I applaud you for the work that you and your company are doing, because it is necessary, but it's an uphill battle still to get people to understand the need.
Well, what's alarming to me, so I was at an American Bar Association event in Florida because we had one of our construction litigators like, you have to go to this event. I mean, you have to be there, Shelley. I was like, okay. So we went there, and one of the construction litigators for a large firm, I handed him my card and he said, I would never work with you. I was like, I mean, do you know me? I mean, it was just, he was so rude. He said, my firm, my company, my construction company, I'm the one that sues the Corps of Engineers. They can't defend themselves. So he goes, it's like taking candy from a kindergartner. And I was so mad because I thought, you know what, we can do better. And I mean, can't you just make your money on the project? And I mean, because I'm all about like schools and education, and we're spending all this money on these projects that are underserved, I guess I could say, and over budget. The owners never get their closeout documents because it's designed that way, yet the risk is so great of that behavior. So anyway, we've seen it all. I want to write a Netflix series one day. Maybe you can be on it with me. And just because I'm sure you've been alarmed also at what you've seen, but from our perspective of watching the contractor try to manipulate documents, and no one knows if the meeting minutes have been manipulated or the agendas changed, because it's in the hands of all the people that can do that. So I'm mortified, honestly, that that's the way these projects run, but we're here to do something about it. But okay, so tell me, so you just won this huge case and you went home at night. So how do you turn this off when you go home?
That's a great question. I mean, it's the blessing and the curse of technology and how we're working remote and doing things, where I feel like my schedule is, I work most of the time and it's just in between, so I have a family, I have kids, I have a dog, and the good news is that I can take my kids to school and pick them up if on a given day, or go to their sport events, or take my dog to the vet. I can do those things because I can work just about anywhere, and I do. And then that means my schedule is all over the place. That's last night I was working from, I got my best work done between 10:30 and midnight last night. So it's really hard to turn it off. And as working with clients, particularly as developing relationships, it's, you want to be available and help them. So, but it's, I find that clients are, in my experience now in the last even 10 years, people are much more flexible and understanding. We communicate, and I say, hey, I'm going to be out for a couple days. They're like, great, don't worry about it. Well, when you get back. And people are very open to that. I had somebody called me, and I was at one of my son's baseball games, and I picked up because it was a client. I always picked up my phone when it's a client particular. And his response was, oh, you're at a game. No, go finish the game. Call me tomorrow. This can wait. And so I think we have, and I think the pandemic's helped with that a little bit, where people understand we all have lives to live in addition to our jobs. And then it's also a matter of drawing those boundaries and trying to instill that for myself and my team, where, I tell them, even if I'm emailing you at weird hours, I'm not expecting that of you. You know, let's talk about when you're working and when you're not working and what our expectations are. So, you know, now it's hard to, but the substantive portions of it, I mean, it's becomes an interesting issue where, you know, trying to divide what we do from who we are. And I don't care what industry or what profession or job you have. It's very easy, and our culture tells us, you know, your worth is based on what you do and what your results are, and that's a constant struggle, and to continue to say what's your identity and where's that placed, and you know, ultimately, you know, we win, we lose, and you have to hold it loosely.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm like my mom's like, what are you talking about, Shelley? I'm like, well, I got you mid thought, Mom. So she's been like, my mom was a businesswoman before businesswomen were cool. And so people are like, well, do you have a business coach? I'm like, yeah, it's my mom. She is my right-hand girl. And she's always like, keep your feet moving, girl. I'm like, okay, but sometimes turning it off. Like I went to Disney World for a week, and I took my kids. I mean, we had the most amazing, but at day one, I literally melted down. I didn't know how to be at Disney World. I was like, okay, I'm trying to stop this drinking thing. Now, what am I supposed to do? You mean just have fun? But I caught on day two, so, you know.
Yep.
But it takes a second. I mean, and then like you said, developing relationships, and especially in your industry, people are on high alert because they could potentially lose millions of dollars. And so what now? So I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know. That's amazing. So did you always know you wanted to be a lawyer?
No, I had no idea of what I was going to do with my life. I was going to be a doctor. I thought once I was in high school, I was a candy striper in an emergency room, and I thought it was really cool. And I thought I'd go into maybe sports medicine. I was a competitive gymnast, so I had done a lot with injuries with athletes. And partway through college, I realized science and chemistry were my nemesis and not my jive. And my parents were really great, but we had no lawyers in the family. I knew no lawyers, I had nothing, you know, no idea. My parents kind of said, well, just explore stuff and take some classes to see what it is you like. And I ended up taking a lot of political science classes. I was actually still not really thinking about becoming a lawyer. I was really looking at doing work with international law, you know, relations, international policy, foreign policy affairs, things. That was very, very interesting. I have a master's degree in international relations. I did a dual degree in law school. So I did my JD, MA, and loved it, and thought I was going to go work for the International Court of Trade, or I was going to go be in the Foreign Service. And I spent a semester in Washington, D.C., and ended up meeting a bunch of lawyers and got advice from them as, hey, if you have any interest in law, you should go to law school. It's a great education. And so I did, and still not knowing what I was going to do with that. And came out of law school, realized that my JDMA actually was not really helpful for me getting a job in either the foreign affairs world or in the legal field, because people thought, well, you're going to go to the other one. Which was fascinating, you know, and I was like, okay. But I ended up then having ridiculously large student loans, and I was able to get a job in a law firm because there you go. Much easier than getting a job working for something, you know, and being a lowly government type employee and trying to pay student loans just were incompatible. And so when I got involved in a law firm, I found I actually liked it, and worked for a firm in my second year of being a lawyer. I was working for a firm that had a large construction practice. And when you have large complex construction and other types of cases, that's where the associates get brought in, because there's just tremendous amount of volume of information and documents. And so as a young lawyer, I started working on construction cases and really enjoyed it, really did well with it. I was fascinated by the building process and being a part of something that was tangible. And solving problems, which is a lot of what we do in construction law, really kind of resonated with me. And, 10 years went by as a blip, and I went, oh, I guess I'm a construction lawyer. So
you're like, well, there you go. Look at me, kids.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny that I went to like a high school reunion. I don't remember what it was. It was like my 10th or 15th year high school reunion. And all of my friends who I had reconnected with then are like, well, of course you're a lawyer. Like, wait, no one told me
Thank
this.
you. Could someone have told me that? I know.
Yeah,
It's so funny.
yeah.
Like,
So,
yeah, I know.
it's it was never a straight line. And I'm still, 20, whatever, 6 years now in, I'm still figuring it out, I feel like. So
I can relate. Yeah, I mean, people laugh. I've never had a job. This is so stupid to say, but I've always worked for myself from the time I was 17. And so, I mean, I started this company in a garage with $15,000 and 700 square feet. And we bootstrapped for 16 years. There's some stuff happening right now that I still am just like, really? I mean, the VA, the FAA, one of the largest builds in the country for an airport. And I mean, we just figured out the code. My husband was in the business for 45 years. He bid a project that he had to bond for $1 million, and the general contractor took him out. And so we started this. And so now I'm 16 years later going, oh, okay. What did I do? But it's pretty amazing. I was designed for this, just like you were designed for this. It's just a thing. And then you find your niche and yeah. But anyway, it's been an adventure. So anyway, well, so how can people find you?
Probably several places. Easiest to find, like, my contact information is my website. That's for our firm, which is www.akerman.com, and then find me under people. I am on LinkedIn under Brenda Radmacher, and every now and then I'm on Instagram as well, but mostly on I use LinkedIn as a lot. I do a lot of I write some articles and I post quite a bit, and I like to curate and share critical and cutting edge issues that are impacting the construction industry. I'm also pretty passionate about diversity and inclusion, particularly in both the legal and the construction field. So I do a lot of work with various organizations, women construction owners and executives, and all of that good stuff. I'm also very involved with the ABA Forum on Construction that you mentioned earlier. So the forum, I am on the board for the Division 5 General Contractors Board, and then I also participate with a bunch of conferences and things. So I'm about and about. I'm in Los Angeles, and every now and then actually in the office these days. We're getting in the office more and more.
Yeah, I was in LA. I went to the Chiefs game and the Chargers, because we are from Kansas City. I know. And I'm totally a Midwest girl. Whatever. And there was all these police are like, I don't know that you should be wearing, that jewelry. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, thank you. But anyway, it's always something. But anyway, I really appreciate your time. I'm intrigued. I love your story. I love the encouragement to, especially young people. Look, you might not know what you're going to be, but just start in the path and start down, and you'll find out. It shows up. Yeah. And then honoring your family. And honoring your family is beautiful.
Yeah. And, and I think the other part of what I really like doing, and I see it with all of the people I'm working in different sectors, because I work with some builders and owners. I also work with some contractors, and I work with design professionals. So I get to work with people in all different aspects of this industry, insurance, risk management, all those things. And the advice I always like to tell people is, the better you communicate, the fewer problems you're going to have. And I find that, it was interesting to me, your comment that, sort of the discouragement of the bad actors. There's a lot of really good actors out there in the industry too. And I just finished. So some of the work I do is dispute and litigation, but then I do a lot of work with deals. A lot of my real estate partners bring me in on the construction aspect when they're doing deals. And then I negotiate contracts and things on behalf of contractors or owners. And I tell you, people are work really hard to try to say, hey, we want to build good projects.
Yeah.
That's where the starting point is. And I think there's a lot of great companies and a lot of smaller businesses are getting into the construction industry, and that's exciting.
Yeah, we have a lot of best practices and contracts. I should share some of them with you.
I'd love to.
Especially what the owners should be asking for, like due diligence. That can be done in 2 days instead of 6 months. I mean, I did not sit down and whiteboard everything we were doing when we started. We didn't know all the problems we were solving. We thought we were just organizing everything, and everything was, organized, and the data would find the people, whatever. Anyway, But a lot of our projects, due diligence is done, and because all the data is there. So it's point and click, it's done, and move forward, make your money again. I'm after A-Rod, so I'm trying to get a meeting with him. Not that he would be a potential client so much, but I follow him on LinkedIn. I'm like, why are you spending your money on all these huge condos whenever you don't have all of the data that you need to defend the project, But anyway, it's a thing for me. So anyway, well, I appreciate you, and I will.
Thank you. It's great to talk with you.
I'm sure I'll see you at a conference.
Definitely, and I'd love to keep a dialogue. I'd love to see your best practices, and if we've got any exchange of potential clients and people who need each other, that would be fantastic.
Okay, sounds great. Have a great day. Thank you.
It was so great to talk with you. Thanks, Shelley.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.